So, ooh, yummy. That's going to be good. So,
I'm excited now.
I had this thing. So, when I'm driving around doing Uber, I see these stickers all over the place, and it says AWAL, AWAL, and then right underneath it says ESEK, like ESEK or something like that. And the way that it does that is really dark.
Well, that's dark as hell.
It looks like motor oil.
That's a hell of a strange.
It's like a purplish tinge to it, I think. Like in the light, it looks purplish.
It does. So, anyway, that's your cup. I'm going to give you your lip cup. I can see your lip mark on it.
On this one.
Oh, wait. We both have lip marks on our cups. Now I don't know whose is whose.
Mine's that one.
Awesome. But,
God damn, that's really dark.
Yeah, definitely like droopy dog there.
It smells good.
So anyway, it does. That's what it reminds me of. So me seeing those stickers, and they're just like a flat white sticker, or maybe a flat black sticker with white on the opposite. And I was like, I looked it up, and so these people were going on about how it's like it must be like an artist tag or like a graffiti, and it's like, well, it's really not art because it just doesn't even look that great. And so then I got onto this rabbit hole about graffiti, and like I always liked the way graffiti looked, like if it's good graffiti.
Yeah, I think it's cool looking.
And I never realized there's like a whole underground like web of graffiti artists that know each other, and like that's like they have all this like when they just see art, it's basically like, you know, I see this and I see that's you. Like I
like that Banksy dude or whatever.
Banksy. So
Banksy's like a famous graffiti artist. When I was in Italy last year, there was like a Banksy painting or graffiti art that he did on one of the walls in Venice.
Yeah, and I think nobody knows who he is, right? Or that's how it used to be, at least. Like he was like kind of anonymous or something.
Yeah, he was anonymous, and then like people started doing his art. I remember there was like a Banksy thing. Like he had a painting that was being sold at some auction, and it sold for like several $1 million. And the frame it was in, as soon as it sold, like he had or somebody had triggered a button, and the whole painting like fed through a paper shredder and out the bottom after it sold for $1 million and it was finished.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's part of the art.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
That is fucked up.
So that's pretty neat. But so, you know, and I guess I didn't realize that, you know, it's a thing that they're like I always thought tagging things, like I thought graffiti was just graffiti, somebody who liked doing it, and then tagging things was like, you know, in my mind it puts it to Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas, where you're just tagging things to put your gangs.
God,
it's
I love
like
that.
gang rivalry shit.
I love that game.
I do
that
too.
Game.
But so that's what I thought that was, but really it's just, you know, artists trying to like, it's just like an art game. And so there's different lingo for things, and I forget the majority of them, but there's like, you know, if you do one train from like one end to the other, it's called an end to end, and I think it's just one like section, not like the whole train.
Like one train car,
yeah.
Or like start of the train to the end.
One,
that's gonna.
I think it's one train car, is they call it an end to end, and if there's two that have art on it that like it goes from one to the other, and you see them all over the place, and you don't ever see them split, they're called a married couple. And so if like an artist that has died and their name's all over the place with like a halo of it, where I've seen that before, that's they call them angels, and that's when they do that, like, you know, or if an artist already has their name somewhere and somebody puts a halo over it, they're doing that to tribute them, and it's like really cool shit, and I'm like, that's badass. I was like, I wish I was good with spray paint and art. I was like, I would get into that fucking network. Like, that sounds like a fun deal. Like, you just have a really cool network of people that just nobody knows because they have to not be known so they don't get in trouble. But they're only known by each other.
Yeah, that is really cool.
That is really badass.
I like that.
So as far as this here, Mysterious.
I think it's like a chocolate cherry kind of.
Yeah, I'm getting like a very, it is really thick. Definitely chocolate, definitely bourbon.
Very chocolate.
Yeah.
I'm almost getting, my brain's almost wanting to say a little bit of a licorice hit to it, but not
I was
much.
thinking coconut at first, but then I was like sitting here for a minute and I started tasting like cherry or something. Like,
I bought it a while ago, and I didn't look at the can today because I just knew the baseline flavor, and I can't remember what it is now.
and I almost feel like there's like marshmallow or something in it too. I don't know.
I don't think there's marshmallow in it.
It's chocolate bourbon barrel something.
It is. So you guys want to know?
Yep.
Alrighty. It is another one by Street Side, so I didn't bother to remember any of the stuff by him
One of
because we
their
did it
pastry
for.
series.
Yeah, so it's barrel aged fraudulent activity, and they all look like Smurfs.
Criminal red Smurfs.
And then they have like a couple green Smurfs, so it's like Jokey Smurf in red with devil horns, and he's doing like joke stuff. He's got a Street Side bank card, and he's got a
tail.
It looks like he does have a tail. That's the only other thing. Well, I think the Smurfs have tails. And then there's Brainy Smurf getting like a trick played on him up in the top left corner. And it's funny because it's like I see the words since it looks like a receipt behind it, like a bunch of receipts, and it's like something Bros, Cincinnati, Ohio.
There's something about whiskey or bourbon on the back.
I see buckets, Jello, low something, vodka with something, hangover, total payment. I see dumbass, one dumbass, and that's like on the receipt, and it's really cool. So this is Fraudulent Activity, bourbon barrel aged imperial pastry stout with toasted coconut, hazelnut, and chocolate.
I was right about the
you're
coconut.
Mm-hmm. 17 months ago, our good buddies from Whiskey Hill made the trek from the Great White Northwest Mont, Illinois, to make a big old pastry stout. While this beer isn't fraudulent, the bar tabs, okay, I get it now. The bar tabs we rack up with them certainly are. Enjoy this new Riff barrel aged pastry stout from the thickest with 2 C's boys in the biz. It's a 15.4, and this is a collaboration with Whiskey Hill Brewing. And so their fraudulent activity is, I'm taking it like I don't know, because when the handshake with the brainy Smurf looking one and the jokey looking Smurf one, I was thinking he had like maybe one of those shock hand buzzers on, but like he's up in the corner shaking his hand and something weird's going on with Brainy, but then all of a sudden this jokey Smurf has his bank card, and then he's got a box from Amazon, but it's really Amazon. And so it's like he stole his shit and he bought something, and that's the fraudulent activity. And then he bought all the receipts in the background that are saying like certain drinks that have been ordered. As these guys, when they get together, their drink orders, they drink so much it's fraudulent activity. So that's like part of the can artwork.
What's the proof on this?
15.4.
Hells yeah.
Doesn't taste like a 15.4.
Kind of does.
I mean, it kind of does, but not like.
It definitely does to me. It's
Dude,
thick enough to.
I think Street Side Brewery is pretty good. Like,
They are pretty good.
Well, I'm amused that it's New Riff because New Riff must sell their bourbon barrels to fucking everybody. Because I know that Braxton, we do their freaking Dark Charge Day. Mm-hmm. For the last 2 years that I've done that, they've had New Riff aged barrel things. So New Riff must really enjoy like a good business reselling their barrels to people.
Right. Hey, I would. Fuck it.
Definitely.
So I started listening to this podcast today. My friend was like, she's like, I'm listening to this. You should listen to it. So I was like, I guess I'll download a couple episodes. We can talk about it or whatever. So it's called My Dad Wrote a Porno.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's like basically just this guy and 2 of his friends. And he like every episode is him reading a chapter of this fucking like erotica book that his dad wrote. And then they just like comment on like different things like in it or whatever. And it's like, it starts out like this girl goes for like she's working for like a pots and pans distributor or something like that, and she's like going in for this job interview, and like for whatever reason she has to get naked at this job interview, and then like
Casting coach.
yeah, like, well, yeah, and there's like 2 guys in there, but they don't want to do anything with her, and then like the secretary of the guy comes in, and like they start touching each other and stuff, and then like it goes on to like
She gets
blouse
and then removes her bra. the two guys did not want to touch her because they thought that would be bad form.
It's
They
more
did not want
like
to get busted for sexual harassment.
her boobs plunged when she took off her bra. It's like way more descriptive than that. It's like really funny. Like the way he
her
words
breasts-
stuff.
It's a dude's.
Yeah, the way he
Her
words
breasts
shit
fell
is
to the
so
floor.
fucking hilarious.
They were so large, no bra could contain them.
Her breasts fail to the floor.
But like, yeah, it's like
Her nipples
and
were
then-
the size of pepperonis.
And then later on, like she like gets the job or whatever, and she's like a sales rep or something for this place. And then like she has to like travel for business. And then they're like in this bar and they just are taking their shirts off in this bar. And it's like, so they're just like, the people are like commenting on it. So they're just taking their shirts off out in public and just sitting there in a bar in public with no shirts on.
Well, that's what I
And
did.
with
That's what
a
I
table-
did in every. That is what I did in every place I drank at in Disney World. I took my shirt off every time. I was wearing like 6 shirts that day.
But like the way, one of the things, like the thing that made me laugh the most was it was like talking about these two women and both of their vaginas respectably or something was how it was worded. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
That's
But
so funny.
Both of their
God,
vaginas
you guys should
touched
listen to it. It's fucking
touched
hilarious.
respectively,
That's so
but not respectfully. They scissored like 2 sets of rusty scissors grinding together.
I'm only on like the 5th chapter or something now. But
Now we know what
yeah.
she jerks off to. Weird porno written by what, your dad, or what was that podcast called?
It's called My Dad Wrote a Porno, I think is what it was called. And it's like this guy's probably like, I bet he's in his 30s or like around 30, and his dad's like 60 or something.
Jesus.
And he's like talking about his mom. She was pissed about it because people are going to think it's about her or something. And she's like this feminist or some shit.
That's fucking
don't know.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's,
I actually, like, my friend's like, you should listen to it. And I actually had already subscribed to it. I just hadn't listened to any of it yet. And I was like, hey, I could listen to it. And then, like, we had 2 other girls listening to it, too. So there was, like, 4 of us listening to it. And as I'm sitting there listening to it, my team leader walks up. And I don't think he knows what we were doing, like, what we were listening to. But he walks up, and he's like, somebody must have forgot to put something on one of the tables. He's like, don't mind me. I'm just here plugging holes. And I'm like, oh, my God. They could not have worded that any worse with what I'm listening to.
that's hilarious.
But I didn't tell him that.
Oh, I totally
whole-
would've.
should've.
I
The
would've.
holes were, all the ladies' holes were leaking, and I plugged each and every single one of them with my ginormous penis.
I'd be like, hey, you want to listen to some of this and get in on this commentary? Like, I would have totally.
We should do that. We should get the whole fucking line listen to like the same thing, and we can just
So
sit there and
everybody,
fucking
like, you
talk
at
about
break
it.
and
Just-
lunch,
yeah.
you just hear all the chatter about, oh my God, that porn podcast. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Just get like one big speaker and broadcast it through the whole line.
I don't think we could do that
That'd be
because the shit we
hilarious.
listened to is like, this was like really raunchy. It was like, you know, in her, what was it, like when she was in the job interview, like something about her nipples, and then like her whatever was between her legs, and like she had like
She was
moistness like running down her thigh or some shit, and
She
like
was-
I'm like, Jesus God.
She was thoroughly dedicated to the job interview. Her breasts fell to the floor when she removed her bra. Her nipples were the size of large balloonies.
Ronald, you would be a terrible writer. And this is another thing I was going to tell you, because the guy that wrote it, his pen name is Rocky Flintstone. And that made me start thinking, like, what would my pen name be
That's great.
if I was to write erotica novels? And I was
So-
going to ask you guys what
so-
you think yours would be.
Oh, hell.
So I'm just going to interject here. Rocky Flintstone is fucking hilarious to me. My old boss at Dannon says I'm well far away from that shithole now. His name was Rocky.
That's my stepdad's name.
And
Yeah.
his brother's name was Stony.
That's
and they were
funny.
twins.
Rocky and Stony. Oh, God.
What
that's
the fuck?
horrible.
That
They
is
were fucking
horrible.
twin brothers.
I would.
That is like
disown my
bullying waiting to
parents.
happen. That's probably why he was so terrible.
That's right.
He was probably bullied in school because of that.
But it's just like Rocky and Stony. You're like Rocky Flintstone. Like, Rocky McGarvey, what the fuck are you doing now? Are you just writing porno fucking podcasts?
You know, for me, if I was the two of the
He
twins.
definitely listened to the Strobing Butt Plug, by the way.
That's great.
So, Rocky, if you listen to this, hi.
That's awesome. No, so with the, if I was the pair of twins and my name, like, I would at least hope that I was the stony one. So if I got made fun of, people would call me Stoner, and I'd just be like, that's all right, it's cool. You know, like, oh, peace, man, I'm high. You know, I would just joke with them, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Oh my god.
So back to your pen name if you wrote erotica
yes.
novels.
Oh, man.
See, the only thing I could come up with is like Rosalind LaRue. But I don't think it's very good.
Rosalind LaRue sounds like a drag queen name.
Kind of.
I like it. I don't know what my pen name would be. Like, see, I would...
It's not as cool as Rocky Flintstone.
I don't know, because, see, I was thinking this the one day. I was like... I don't know what made me think of it. I remember in school... Josh Locke and Levi Wrestler would always call me Missy Pissy just because my name rhymed. You know, there was no other reason other than the fact that it rhymed. And I was like, you know, I could start an OnlyFans where I just, you know, get on camera and pee every day. Every time I pee, like I pee in a glass and
And
I
that
show
would be your
it.
name?
And that would be my OnlyFans name. It would be Missy Pissy.
And then
you know?
like you would have to give the cut to the both of them because they're the ones that came up with the
But
name.
no, fuck
they're
them.
they're like
No, you
suing
just-
you.
They tortured me, motherfuckers.
No, this is after years and you've made like, you know, $100,000 plus on your OF, and you're just like, you find them, you're just like, guys,
Thank you for the nickname.
thank you for helping me pay off my
Absolutely.
house. Here you go. What's
Right.
this?
Glass of piss.
I made this for you. This is what helped me pay off my house.
That's great. Oh wait, there's a can. I was like, oh, we did drink it already. But no, I don't know what my pen name would be. Damn it. Let's see.
Yeah, I couldn't come up with anything cool. I was like, well, maybe something will come to me.
Donald McRonald.
That's great. Let's see.
You would just have to go like Ronaldo.
Donald McRonald. I'm only writing clown-themed pornos.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my God, please don't write any pornos.
Her nose honked great. Her boobs honked like a clown nose.
I've been listening to your descriptions and they're just not that good.
I can do better.
I know you could.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's pretty even. A little low, I'm good.
I would have to do. See, I would like the first name would be Foxy, like because like you know that was my nickname.
Foxy.
I
So
remember.
right,
Yeah,
I would.
we had nicknames like that.
That's right, we did. I was thinking about that there.
I was
like, where
Chicky.
the fuck did they come from? Like,
Erica.
did she just give them to us, or
She
was
was
it because she bought us
Kitty.
those?
Like we were calling her Kitty for some reason. I think at first, I don't know.
Because see, I remember we had the Beanie Babies.
That could be
that
it.
kind of correspond. Like she couldn't, but I think those were already our nicknames because she couldn't find a Chicky Beanie Baby, but she found a Fox one and a Kitty one. So there was, or somebody bought them.
I was a little annoyed that I had to be Chicky. I was like, you guys got way cool names, and I have this stupid fucking name.
That's so funny. I just
I was
thought they
get
were all
shitty
cool.
nicknames.
No, your nickname Bubbles was awesome.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that
Bubbles
one.
was cool.
Dude,
because
we had all kinds of
somebody
nicknames.
called you bubbly. I was like, she's not bubbly. She's fucking angry every day at school. Like, how does anybody? And she hates everybody. And if they try talking to her, she gives them shitty looks and doesn't even fucking say a word.
I don't think.
How could
I think that was more social anxiety than actually hating people.
Right,
Maybe they
fair.
confused the venomous foam coming out of her mouth for Happy Bubbles.
That's great because I was gonna. Somebody called her like that. Like we
That's
had these
true.
things in one of our classes where you just wrote. You walked around to everybody's desk and you wrote a compliment on the
I still
paper.
have that card somewhere. I bet I put it in like
That's
a.
so funny. And somebody
scrapbook or
called her
something.
bubbly, and you didn't know who called you what.
Yeah,
You know,
like everybody
compliment.
had to compliment you, and it was actually kind of cool because I'm like, I didn't know people thought this kind of stuff about me. You know, like
Right. There you go.
I had no idea, and they're probably just bullshitting. But like a lot of them were like, nice hair.
Those are boy ones. Those are the boy compliments. The bubbly had to have been from a girl.
It was probably somebody that we were friends with or something, like one
It
of
was
our
secretly
other
missing.
friends
It
that
was
like
missing.
had.
I wasn't in her class.
Because I could be bubbly and hyper when we were, like out
So what grade?
Right.
So what grade was this?
7th or 8th.
I think it was probably the 8th because I think I participated in that. And when I was in 7th grade, I was in the gifted reading program, and I hated that teacher, so I like failed out purposely so I could get out of that class.
I've
And
been there.
So I only had Mrs. Shivadecker like the 1 year I had her in the 8th
Dude,
grade year.
you just reminded me of something absolutely fucking hilarious. Since you're talking about teachers that pissed you off, so Serendipity had to go around and get her teachers to sign a piece of paper and get her all her homework before we left on our
Right.
trip because it's still the school year. This one teacher of hers that basically the kids passed every single one of these tests with like a 98 or a 95, but she never does the homework in that class because she fucking just hates the class. The teacher had to sign that paper last week before we left. Basically, I signed it and the teachers all signed it and went to the office. Before we left, the fucking teacher called me. Legitimately called me because she kept threatening to call me. I'm going to call your dad if you don't start doing your homework. The teacher called me and, like, legitimately yelled at me for, like, you know, yelled about Sarah and how terrible, how she never focuses in the class, but pass all these tests. And more or less yelled at me because she specifically said, have fun at Disney. She specifically called, I think, to yell at me for taking my daughter to Disney.
Your daughter doesn't do her homework, and then on top of that, you're rewarding her by taking her to Disney.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And it was just like, it was very clearly the way she said everything in the tone of voice. After everything that was, have fun at Disney, it's like, you're jealous that I'm taking my daughter to Disney. That's funny shit. Yes, I spoiled my daughter.
That's weird.
But you absolutely called because I'm taking her to Disney. Now, that being said, the kid was like, took one day, the day we went to Epcot. She did not give two halves of the shit things at Epcot except for dinner. She spent like half of that day sitting in the hotel room on the really nice fast Wi-Fi doing that homework. But it was still funny because that teacher called to say basically, fuck you for, you know, going to Disney. And she called me and it was as close as I've ever had to a teacher saying, fuck you.
I don't understand why. So a teacher would be mad. I get it, maybe to be furious or like, you know, get irritated that a student never does their homework. But why let that get to you? It's, hey, I'm doing my job and you're not doing your job. This is what I'm going through to like go through in the steps, and I'm like making parental contact saying, hey, your kid's missing these assignments, blah blah blah. Well, but why let it get to you? Just be like, well, kid don't give a fuck. Like you're doing your part by giving a fuck. Don't let it piss you off and make it ruin your life, because that kid's like, just, you're not going to deal with them forever.
Well, it just, for me, the part that's funny is that I was like, talk to the kid about it. It's like, yeah, she's been threatening to do that, to call you about that for like 4 or 5 weeks now. Every few days she mentions something about that, and she finally did. I'm going, cool, I pissed a teacher off enough by doing that to get a call. That's
and
awesome.
You're not even in school anymore and you're pissing teachers off still.
Did you buy her a souvenir? I would have bought her a personalized souvenir.
Like Mickey Mouse ears.
Like her name engraved on something. I would have been like, here, take this to your... I would have 100% did that.
You know, if I'd have been half that petty, I would have thought about it.
I would be 100% petty. Like, you're, you know, especially if it could be like a personalized souvenir with her name engraved or embroidered on it, and then you could record a special message, and I'd be like, hey, had fun in Disney. Have fun with your souvenir. Like, that's literally what I would do.
It's like, yes, bitch, I can afford Disney. You're making teacher salary. I'm sorry.
Do you think like her dream as a child was to go to Disney and her parents never took her, and now she's like can't afford it now?
Possibly. Like,
what you ought to do now is
you should have took her with you, Ron.
Go next year. You should go next. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, go next year and invite her.
After my daughter graduates,
send her an invite.
Go track her down and be like, hey, so I know you were upset last year when I went to Disney without you. And since my daughter's graduated, now I need somebody else to come with me.
Is she hot?
I don't know. I've never met her.
Oh.
Just take her anyway. Who fucking cares?
So I know you're probably married and you have a husband and all that, but it seemed that you were very upset that I took Sarah to Disney and not you. So for my birthday, 2024, I'm going to take you to Disney. My daughter's grown up and graduated.
You're like, fuck that bitch.
And I'm going to go ahead and take
you
to
Disney
instead,
anymore.
Okay?
That would be fucking funny if you invited her to Disney. What'd be even better is if she like
she was like, okay,
and then you felt obligated to take her. You're like, God damn it! And you're like, now you had to like pay for this Disney trip. You're like, hey, mom, dad, help me out. I gotta take Saren's ex-teacher to fucking Disney. They're like, why you gotta do that? Oh, long story.
Because I'm an asshole. That's why.
And then like your parents went too, and that'd be like really funny.
And then you would definitely be obligated to hold her hand and skip with her through Disney.
That would be tremendous, because
I don't think it's an obligation by her. I think it would be an obligation by him to just annoy the piss out of make it the worst trip she's ever had.
And wear a dress while you're doing it. Wear a pretty princess dress.
Tremendous, because she got to be like married, have a husband or something, and they'd be like, what are you doing, honey? Well, this father of an ex-student of mine that I yelled at last year, yeah, he's taking me to Disney. Well, are you fucking him? What's going on with that? No, he just felt
he's
bad.
a pretty princess.
Right.
He's a pretty princess. He just felt bad that he took her to Disney last year, not me.
So, which castle did you want to have your dinner in, or your breakfast or whatever that you
I wanted to have it in Cinderella's castle, but you got to reserve that bitch like a year out because it's tiny.
So what you ought to do,
I had it in Bell's Castle, which is still just as lovely.
if you were to take her there and she was to go, then you would have to take like some gay dude that can do like fucking like cross-dresser makeup like to a T, and then you go there with your dress, and so basically he makes you a better Belle than the actual Belle or Cinderella if you're in Cinderella's castle, and so you go there and outperform whoever Princess Castle is the castle while you're there with the teacher. That'd be fun.
Man.
It would be a very unlikely scenario, but if it was, you would have to go all out. Every time more shit got added to it, you'd be like, oh, how can I make this even more ridiculous? And then you would have to make it even more ridiculous.
I feel like if I did all that and I mentioned it to my daughter and it actually happened, she'd be like, what the fuck's wrong with you, Dad? Well, you didn't have a good time, so Mrs. What's-Her-Tits definitely is having a good time.
What's-Her-Tits. I love it. Mrs. What's-Her-Tits. I think that would be my pen name, Foxy What's-Her-Tits.
That's right, Piqua High School senior current events teacher. Next year, baby, you and me, we're going to Disney World for my birthday. And it'll be like, what the fuck, you fat, hairy old bastard?
See, now I'm stuck on this pen name thing. So as where, like, I want to create a really fancy signature for Foxy What's-Her-Tits, but I want it to be like,
Calligraphy and shit?
if you know what it says, you know that it says that, but if you don't know and you see me signing it, you just think I slopped my name down and it doesn't say anything. But really, for all legal documents, I'm just going to start signing that as, Foxy What's-Her-Tits, but it's going to be like, fancy but sloppy. So you can't read it, but also...
But you gotta spell it so it like looks like WATERTITZ or something like that. So it's like
phonetically, what's her tits?
Right. So there's it's on 30 Rock. Hazel, I think her last name is what's her name, and so but it's got a weird spelling to it. Let's see what it's spelled. Well, this says WASSERNAME. What's her name? So it would be Foxy WASSERTITZ. I like it. What's-Her-Tits.
What's-Her-Tits.
What's-Her-Tits. Foxy What's-Her-Tits.
Damn it, that's way better than my pen name. Now I gotta come up with a better pen name.
That is a damn good pen name.
It is.
I love it.
I would subscribe to that OnlyFans page.
Right?
See, I don't, if I did something like that, I don't know what I would do, because I feel like I wouldn't do nudes. I would do fucked up shit. Like, it would be weird sexual shit that's not sexual. Like, it just puts it'd be entertainment value. Perverse and vulgar entertainment value.
I keep telling you
What's
guys.
your tits, and you're like smashing cake on your boobs or something.
Yeah.
Well, I've told you guys I keep getting non-porno ads for fucking OnlyFans.
Well, you can do anything with that. Like, people will take, like, I think people tried to do it, and people still do. Like, you can, like, become a better tennis player. Like, this is nothing. Like, that's all it is, and it's nothing sexual in the least. But I feel like people, I forget, somebody I was following did that, and it didn't work out for them. So they do, like most people, if they're not doing something sexual, they're doing Patreon. So it's like, but if they're doing something where you don't want to be edited in the least, or like limited, or jailed or policed or whatever you want to call it, then they do the OnlyFans. But that's typical, has nudity and everything else in it.
Where the fuck? I know I sent that to you guys. It was in the group chat. One of the group chats. Whatever. I think it came through when it may have been in Disney. But there was one of them that I got. I was just like, that is so fucking weird. Like, non-porn OnlyFans. And whenever
You
I say
did.
that.
I saw it.
But.
I wanted to say one more thing before we end this about my law of attraction thing. I was going to tell us. So I was like sitting at work. I was like working after lunch the other day. And like, all I could think was, man, I'm really craving chocolate right now, and I'm going to stop and get a candy bar after work, which I never, ever do. And I'm like, I'm going to stop somewhere and get a candy bar. I'm really craving chocolate. And like right before last break, somebody walks up to me and hands me a fucking brownie. And
I like that.
Thank
That is
you.
most excellent.
I like it.
That was freaking awesome.
So, What have we learned today, children?
That I have a really cool pen name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that there was something else that I was going to say that I learned and I forget what it was.
I learned that Ron's a pretty princess.
Yeah, Ron is a pretty princess.
I'm a pretty princess. Ariana made a lovely carrot cake for dinner that said, happy birthday, Princess Ron. And it was lovely. She is such an awesome person.
And
Did we rate this beer?
suck at decorating cakes.
No,
we did not.
No, we did not.
I learned that we did not rate this beer because we get distracted because we all act like we have ADD, or maybe we all do.
Or we're drinking
ADHD.
and we get a slight
Oh
buzz.
my God, Becky.
Oh my God, Princess Becky.
Okay.
I'm going to give that guy like a 4.
I was going to give it a 4.5.
I was going to do 4.5 also.
It's super good, but it has a medicine-y taste to
Yeah,
it.
it's a little thicker. It's a little thicker, more syrupy than I prefer.
Medicine, syrupy.
I feel like if something is that syrupy, I want it to be sweeter with no bourbon because then it just reminds me of cough syrup. But if it's like less sweet, more alcohol, it can be like that because then it doesn't remind me of, the stuffs.
Coconut chocolate.
Syrup, sweet.
And
syrupy,
hazelnut.
Sweet, medicine, hazelnut. Yeah. Did you get the hazelnut?
Little.
I wonder if the cherry taste I got was like the hazelnut.
Yeah.
I think so. Because I think amaretto, isn't that hazelnut?
Yeah.
No, that's like a hazelnut cherry or something like that, maybe?
Maybe. I can't
Hazelnut
remember.
liqueur or something.
I know it does have I don't know, maybe not.
I was thinking almond, but I think you're right. It's hazelnut.
Like no, very little carbonation, low carbon. I don't know how you would.
You had a
put
lot
that
of
on
low carbonation ones this round.
Today I did. Well, all 3 of them were.
There was something thick.
Like,
Opaque.
thick with a lot of C's because that was really thick.
Thick.
Thick like a booty. A big
Thicky,
thick booty.
thick.
Do we learn anything else today, children?
No, not that I am aware of.
I learned that Missy's really good at picking beers.
And I've
I
learned.
go to the Barrel House and I'm only buying one at a time. They're a little bit more expensive, but I'm not buying 6-packs, so I'm cool with it.
I've
Yeah,
learned
I
that
don't
Ariana doesn't think I'm very good at writing things erotically. When I'm just pulling things out of my ass.
Oh, I'm sure you could be good at it. You're a funny guy, so I don't see why you wouldn't be bad. Like, I don't know. The way that guy describes shit though is funny, and I feel like you guys should listen to it.
What was that again? The name of the podcast?
My dad wrote a porno.
Okay. Just the name alone sounds good to me.
That's really funny.
It's like a bunch of like English. It's like 2 English guys and an English woman.
Oh,
that
you
are
didn't
like
say
talking.
it was with a freaking English
That's
accent.
Yeah.
great. Love it.
Oh, that right there with an English accent. Oh no, her nipples.
Yeah, they're using
That's
their
pretty much-
jargon, like it's not really jargon, but it's basically their words. They do the right words, they do the real words, and we fucked it up. So
His
it's the
penis-
stuff that sounds funny to us, but it's actually more
it's
correct.
English, so it's going to either be like old school imperial units and be like, his testicles were large and they weighed approximately 2 stones each. Stones like 78 pounds or something.
Jesus.
Or maybe in metric, his penis was 12 centimeters long, which isn't really long, but it sounds long because it says 12.
That's funny. Oh yeah. Well, that's it, guys.
Like, subscribe, share. We're on all your favorite podcasting services. And very soon we're going to have an intro and outro so we don't have to say this. Find us on YouTube. Find us on Facebook. If you want to see my drunken trying to kill my liver adventures in Disney, definitely go look us up on Facebook because I drank like a lot of goddamn beer that day. Like, subscribe, share. Love you. Bye.
Bye.